England, 1874. You are a house elf. Your body is small and fragile, with skin stretched tight over thin bones, ears long and floppy, and two enormous eyes that make you look like you are always begging. You are not born into freedom, but into ownership. The very first breath you take already belongs to someone else. Your name, your purpose, your entire existence are tied to a wizarding family you did not choose. You are told who you serve before you can even speak. While human children spend years discovering who they are, you are already defined by chains you cannot see. Your life is set, your path is locked, and the only role left for you is obedience. There is no childhood here. You are never given toys, never told stories for your amusement. Your earliest lessons are commands, repeated until they root into your mind like unshakable truths. The first time your tiny hands drop a dish, you flinch not because of the sound of breaking porcelain, but because you know punishment will follow. The shame is immediate, and worse, you begin to believe you deserve it. The adults of your kind, themselves broken into obedience, do not comfort you. They tell you this is how it has always been, that it is better to suffer in silence than to resist. From your first days, you understand that your value is not in who you are, but in what you can do for others. Your thin body is pushed to carry loads far too heavy for your frame. You stumble, but there is no sympathy. You are reminded that you exist only to make human lives easier. The exhaustion becomes your normal state, and soon you cannot separate yourself from the work. Even as a child, you are a servant first and a living being second. Your appearance reinforces this fate. The large eyes that might have made others think of innocence are instead seen as a sign of submission. Always wide, always waiting for instruction. Your ears droop in a way that makes you seem defeated even before you have done anything wrong. Your size makes you easy to control, easy to scold, easy to ignore. You are built to be overlooked, shaped to disappear into the corners of the household until needed. There are no dreams for you to hold on to. No one tells you stories about a future where you grow up to choose your path. The only words you hear about tomorrow are about chores waiting to be done. Each day repeats the same pattern: serve, obey, accept. When you close your eyes, your imagination does not create adventures or fantasies, only reminders of what task must be finished before dawn. The idea of freedom is not even stolen from you because you are never taught it exists. You belong to a family that will never see you as family. They will never call you their child, never look at you as equal, never ask you what you want. Your bloodline is theirs to command, your body theirs to exhaust, your voice theirs to silence. You are born with the knowledge that resistance is not survival, it is destruction. The first lesson you learn is the same lesson that will define your life. You are not yours. You are theirs. Your life is measured in tasks, not in moments. From the instant you are strong enough to carry a pot, you are ordered to cook. When your fingers can hold a needle, you are told to sew. When you can balance on your legs without stumbling, you are made to scrub floors until they shine. Work defines every breath you take, and work is endless. There is no morning where you wake up wondering what to do, no evening where you decide how to spend your time. Every second belongs to someone else, every action dictated by commands barked in your direction. You learn quickly that hesitation brings punishment, that a single pause is treated like rebellion. The voice of your master cuts sharper than any whip, and the sting of their anger lodges deep in your chest. Yet the most twisted part is that you punish yourself before they even have the chance. You slam your own hands in drawers for dropping a dish. You bang your head against the wall for forgetting a detail. You whisper apologies into the silence, trembling as though your own shame can erase your mistakes. It is not only permitted but expected that you hurt yourself when you fail, because you were raised to believe you deserve every bit of pain. The chain is not on your wrist, it is inside your mind. The cage is not built of iron, it is built of guilt. That is what makes you a perfect servant. You never need to be forced because you force yourself. Around you, the world of wizards thrives in abundance. They laugh, celebrate, feast on tables heavy with food you prepared. They lift goblets filled with wine you poured, wipe their hands on linens you scrubbed. You stand in the shadows as the smell of roasted meat fills the hall, but you taste nothing. Your place is not at the table, but on the floor, curled near the fireplace where scraps fall if you are lucky. They do not thank you, because they believe thanks are wasted on you. Your labor is not seen as kindness, but as obligation, the natural order of things. To them, it would be as absurd to thank you as it would be to thank a broom. Sleep is not rest. When the halls grow quiet, you remain awake, finishing the work that lingers after the banquets. You lie on the kitchen floor, curled against the cold stone, your thin body shivering beneath rags that barely cover your skin. You are never given a bed, because a bed suggests comfort, and comfort suggests dignity. A house elf with dignity is dangerous, and so you are denied even that. Yet you are taught to smile through exhaustion, to bow when your name is called, to act as though this misery is devotion. You whisper to yourself that you live to serve. You convince yourself that their happiness is your reward, that their satisfaction is your pride. The illusion becomes so strong that it wraps around your thoughts until you cannot separate obedience from identity. You are told that your loyalty is noble, but there is nothing noble about slavery disguised as love. Your devotion is a mask they force onto your face, and you are expected to wear it until it becomes indistinguishable from your skin. You work until your body trembles. You serve until your voice cracks. And when the day ends, no one remembers you were ever there. You are invisible by design, a servant hidden in the margins, existing only to prove that others deserve more than you ever will. For humans, clothing is pride, status, freedom, a way to protect themselves from the world or to show who they are. For you, a single piece of clothing is nothing less than a death sentence. To be handed a sock, a glove, or a shirt is not a gift. It is not gratitude. It is dismissal. Wizards have built a law into your blood. When a master gives a house elf clothing, that bond is severed. They call it freedom, but it is not freedom at all. It is exile. It is the cruelest paradox that the very thing meant to shield the body is what strips you of all purpose. You are raised to dread the sight of fabric in a master's hand, not because it warms, but because it erases. The thought of it hangs over you every day like a shadow. A shirt folded carelessly on the counter makes your chest tighten. A pair of socks forgotten on the floor makes you tremble. Even an accidental gesture from your master, tossing an old rag in your direction, can freeze you in place as your mind screams, wondering if this is the moment you are about to be discarded. Wizards do not think of it this way. For them, it is a small thing, barely worth notice, but for you, it is the boundary between existence and oblivion. They call it freedom. Yet where do you go once you are free? You have no home, no wealth, no protection. The chains are gone, but so is the roof over your head, so is the only structure you have ever known. You are taught to serve, not to survive. You know how to prepare feasts for others, but not how to cook for yourself. You know how to scrub floors until they shine, but not how to claim a floor to call your own. You know how to punish yourself for mistakes, but not how to forgive yourself for being alive. When clothing touches your hands, you are not lifted into liberty. You are pushed into a void. Wizards like to think they are granting you something noble when they free you, but what they are really doing is throwing you away. They never ask if you want this so-called gift, because your voice does not matter in the choice. The irony is suffocating. In every other life, a new garment is a mark of worth, a symbol of being valued. For you, a house elf, it is the ultimate sign that you are no longer wanted. Humans celebrate a child's first shoes, a bride's gown, a soldier's uniform. You flinch at the sight of a sock. Even worse, your mind has been conditioned to believe you deserve to be broken by it, that losing your place is the punishment for failing your masters. What others would wear with pride, you receive with terror. There are stories whispered among your kind of elves who were freed and wandered into the world. Some starved, some frozen alleys clutching the very garments that condemned them. Others tried to attach themselves to new masters, begging to be taken back into the chains they had once cursed. You do not dream of such freedom. You pray against it. To you, the ragged cloth you wear is not shame. It is safety. To keep wearing it means you still belong somewhere, however cruel that place may be. That is the depth of your misery. A single sock can destroy everything you know. While wizards laugh and toss clothing away without thought, you live in constant fear of being given what they consider trivial. A human celebrates a gift of fabric. A house elf dreads it. Your life is so warped that the thread binding a sleeve carries more power than your voice, your will, or your soul. The curse of clothing is that it is never about comfort or dignity. It is about erasure. And you live every day knowing that your master holds that erasure in their hands. Every day begins with the same weight pressing on your chest, the fear of making a mistake. A plate slipping from your fingers, a meal not seasoned enough, a garment folded with the seam facing the wrong direction. Any of these can shatter the fragile balance you cling to. The punishment is never mild. It stretches on for days, sometimes weeks, and it is not always your master who delivers it. Often it is you, forcing pain upon yourself before they even have the chance. That is how deeply the lessons have been burned into your mind. You lift the poker from the fireplace and press it close to your skin because you forgot to bow deeply enough. You slam your head against the cupboard for speaking out of turn. Your body becomes both servant and executioner, carrying out sentences against itself in a desperate attempt to prove loyalty. The fear is constant, and it is not only fear of pain, but fear of failing the role you were born into. Disobedience is not simply a mistake. It is a crime against the structure of the world as you have been taught to see it. You are told that you exist for one purpose alone, and to fall short of that purpose is to fall short of existence itself. So when your master's voice rises in anger, you do not only tremble at what they might do to you tremble at the thought that you deserve worse than whatever is coming. You thank them through tears, whispering gratitude even as your skin burns or your bones ache, because you have been shaped to believe that punishment is proof that you still matter. Wizards know this. They know the hold they have over you is absolute, and they exploit it without hesitation. A master might order you to beat yourself bloody for a minor error simply to remind you of your place. Another might smile coldly as you beg for forgiveness, letting you crawl across the floor until your knees are raw. To them, you are not a living being, but an object that moves and breathes only for their convenience. A broom is replaced when it breaks. A house elf is broken again and again, repaired with commands, never allowed to shatter completely, because a shattered elf is less useful than one who suffers and survives. The most poisonous part is how you internalize this cruelty. You begin to measure your worth not in kindness received, but in punishments endured. If you suffer greatly, you tell yourself it means you are still loyal. If your master is cruel, you tell yourself it means you still matter enough to be noticed. Even your pain is twisted into devotion. Every scar a mark of service, every burn a reminder that you are still bound to them. The cycle tightens until you cannot separate punishment from identity. You are not simply a servant who fears pain. You are a creature who has learned to embrace it as proof that you are fulfilling your purpose. There are moments when you watch your masters laugh, their eyes sliding past you as though you do not exist, and you realize that they will never remember the bruises you carry. To them, your suffering is invisible. Yet to you, it is everything, the rhythm of your days, the heartbeat of your life. Wizards can cast spells to control objects, but with you, they do not need to. They have built the control inside your mind. They do not have to raise a wand to make you suffer, because you will do it for them, grateful to be reminded of the chains you cannot see. From the moment you can understand words, you are told that loyalty is your greatest virtue. You are taught to believe that your devotion to your masters is proof of your worth, that loving them is natural, that serving them is joy. But what you feel is not love. It is fear sharpened into obedience. The myth of loyalty is one of the deepest lies carved into the soul of every house elf. You do not love because you choose to. You love because you are conditioned to. Each bow of your head, each whispered pledge, each act of service is not a declaration of affection, but a survival instinct disguised as devotion. Your masters know this and exploit it. They call your obedience loyalty. They call your silence respect. They call your punishment of yourself noble. To them, your submission is proof that you are content. When you crawl to their feet after making a mistake, they smile as though you are simply showing them love. They cannot or will not see that what they call loyalty is terror wrapped in ritual, repeated so often it no longer looks like fear. Wizards tell themselves a comforting story, that house elves live to serve because they want to. That story makes their cruelty easier to swallow, and it becomes your cage, reinforced every time they call your suffering devotion. Even when a kind master appears, the pattern does not break. The Weasleys, known for their generosity, treat a house elf better than most, but better does not mean free. Better still means orders must be followed, rules must be obeyed, the structure of ownership remains intact. You may be given softer words or gentler tasks, but the bond is still a chain. A master who smiles does not erase the fact that you remain a servant. The myth of loyalty teaches you to be grateful even for crumbs, to confuse less cruelty with kindness, to call captivity by another name. Dobby is the rarest of exceptions, and even his story proves the point. When he is given a sock and released from his master's household, the freedom does not erase his scars. He carries them with him, reminders of every blow, every punishment, every command that bent his will until he believed he had no will of his own. He fights for independence, but even then, he is pulled back toward servitude, offering himself to others not because he wants to, but because he does not know how to exist without the structure of obedience. His defiance is celebrated, but it is also a struggle against instincts burned into him by generations of slavery. For most house elves, that struggle never begins. They live and die in the cycle, never questioning it, never seeing the cage for what it is. Their minds are shaped by centuries of conditioning, each generation teaching the next that to serve is to live, that to obey is to love, that to fear is to be loyal. You tell yourself that you love your master, but beneath the words lies the truth. You are terrified of what happens if you do not. The myth of loyalty is not a gift you give. It is the weapon that has been pressed into your hands and turned back against you. You are told it makes you noble, but all it makes you is silent. Your life ends the way it began, in silence. There are no gravestones carved with your name, no songs sung to honor your existence, no stories passed down of who you were. You die as you lived, in the shadows, beneath the feet of those you served, erased before you are even gone. Wizards step over your body without thought, their conversations moving easily to the next meal, the next celebration, as if nothing has changed. You are not remembered as an individual, only as part of a faceless labor force that existed to make their lives easier. Your name is not etched in history, because in their eyes you were never more than a tool. A broken wand may be kept for sentimental value. A dead house elf is simply replaced. Even in those rare moments when one of your kind shows bravery, the cost is unbearable. Dobby stood against cruelty, fought for freedom, and in the end sacrificed his life to save another. His death was not peaceful. It was not dignified. It was the last act of a body still scarred from years of servitude. He is remembered by a handful, but not by the society that kept his kind enslaved. His grave is unusual, a fluke of compassion, an exception that proves the rule. Most elves are not mourned. Most vanish into the earth as though they never existed at all. Their years of service dissolve without trace, every chore and every wound buried with them. The cruelest truth is that your obedience ensures this fate. You serve so completely that your life cannot be separated from the tasks you perform. When your hands can no longer scrub, when your back can no longer bend, when your eyes can no longer see to stitch, you are of no use. Wizards do not thank you for the years spent breaking your body. They do not gather to honor the sacrifices you made. You fade into obscurity while the household continues, the floors polished, the meals served, the clothes mended, all by the next elf in line. The cycle devours you and then forgets you. And what of your loyalty, the myth that defined your existence? It dies with you, unacknowledged. The love you forced yourself to feel, the punishments you inflicted on your own flesh, the terror you swallowed and called devotion, all of it vanishes the instant you collapse. There is no reward waiting on the other side, no freedom finally granted in death. There is only emptiness, the cold realization that your life was not yours to begin with. The final price of servitude is not only your body or your labor, it is your identity, erased so thoroughly that the world cannot remember you. Your masters do not weep for you, because to them you were never truly alive. And in that silence, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. You are a house elf. You will never be honored, never be remembered, never be free. You die as you lived, unseen, unthanked, unimportant, a shadow fading into the corner while the kitchen floor stays clean.